my name's Katie Robertson. I'm the founder and director for the Anchor Gathering, and I want to welcome you to the Anchor at Home. We are so glad you're here. If you're in a watch party with family and friends, or you're on your own, we are so thankful you're tuning in. We are dreaming big this season, and we want to spread the good news of Jesus and the grace and peace he brings to women everywhere. We would love your help to come on board. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can share this link with anyone near or far, family, friends, anyone in the need of hope. And also, if you'd consider hosting a watch party, I want to say a quick thank you to all of you out there hosting one right now, or if you're going to later this month. So thankful for you. And we'd love for more of you to join the crew. You can go to our website, find out more at theanchorgathering.com, and we will be in connection with you. So we have a great evening planned tonight, but before we get started, we thought it would be fun to take a look behind the scenes and see what really goes on to put the Anchor at Home together. So we've got some fun footage, and we are going to right now take you behind the scenes.
Put her face.
Perfect.
4.
Hey everyone, I'm Katie.
And I'm Carla.
We have our very first Anchor at Home coming soon. It's going to be Thursday, October 6th.
At 7 o'clock on YouTube. Katie, who is our main speaker?
Well, very good you asked. Our speaker is going to be Sarah Hasselback, so you're not going to want to miss this one. We got a great lineup.
All right. Well, we'll see you then. 7 o'clock, October Smith.
Carla, we were doing...
Yay.
What are we doing?
She's putting the boom down a little bit because she said she can get a touch of an echo.
Well, sounds like you're a camera woman too.
I work in it.
Yeah.
All right, is my hair, is it big? Are we on? Oh my gosh, we're on, okay.
Does that look dumb with the
No?
sweater?
No flossing?
Wait, front tuck or no front tuck? Ron hates front tucks.
Really, I'm front tucked.
But does that look weird with the sweater? Wait a minute, front tuck or not?
No. I don't think you need the front tuck.
What are you doing? I don't know that.
This is the fun, you don't know how to floss?
No.
I learned this from my middle schooler. Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, we don't do that. What would I be doing that for?
Okay.
All right, I got it going.
Bye.
Watch party.
Come on to a
Watch
party.
party.
Come on, let's go, let's
We
go.
got spreaders.
Come on, we got. Okay.
And
We hope that you will consider hosting a watch party in your home and join our crew. It's pretty darn fun. That sounded dumb.
Kim, and you wait to see the fruit.
That's right.
I like the chopping. Oh my God. I had 2 children. Let's start completely over again. No worries. I'll be in a video. We'll redo it for her. That would be cute.
I've been working on it. Great. I've been trying to think, how's that going to tie together? Now I'm looking at this sweater going, this was kind of a cute sweater.
I think you look super cute.
I should have worn this instead of the other outfit.
No, you've
Did
got
you like the other
November.
outfit?
okay, ready?
Okay, so get ready to say, hey, Katie.
Bye.
Okay, I'm just like minding my own business.
Hey, Katie.
You are getting, now that's getting a little creepy. Okay.
And I'm wondering, oh gosh, I'm doing terrible.
You're ready, and I'm going to turn. It's Okay. a little bright.
And wait, are we saying our names? Or not? Okay.
5. Big deep.
Lord, please tweak what I speak. Forgiveness, grace. Ugh, I'm so sorry. My phone is ringing.
With that, no, I don't like what I'm doing. It was losing it.
It was and rolling. 5. Sorry. 5.
Hey everyone, Katie here.
And Lauren.
We are so glad you're here today. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Start over. What am I saying? Hey, we want to make sure you know all about signing up for our Glassy Baby drawing. So, Carla,
How do I?
what do you mean Carla is all about? We want to share the hope of Jesus. So, here you go, Carla. Okay.
God, that was awesome, guys.
Okay, that's all. Well, as you can see, after lots of laughs and many takes, we are always excited to bring the Anchor into your home. Well, at this time, we like to start the Anchor at Home with music. And tonight, I'm very honored to introduce to you Jillian Edwards. She is all the way from Nashville, Tennessee. She is a gifted singer-songwriter. She's married to Will Chapman, drummer for Colony House. They have one little girl, and Jillian is also the daughter-in-law of Mary Beth and Stephen Curtis Chapman, which I mentioned because it's a fun connection. Mary Beth Chapman is our anchor moment tonight that we will be hearing from in just a little bit. So Jillian loves to write her music, songs about the grace, peace, love, and joy being anchored to Jesus brings. So we are so thankful we get to hear from her now.
Hi, my name is Jillian Edwards. I'm so grateful to have a moment with you today, and just a moment to remind myself where to place my trust, where I can anchor my hope to. There's a song that came to mind today that I wanted to share with you that helps me look forward to the hope of heaven. In just a little while there'll be no pain, no suffering, crying or tears. The old way of things will have passed on, and all will have changed, and your bright shining face, just like the light of day, once and for all. Darkness will die, oh, until then I will hold your hand. So lay your head down beside me, let me tell you how I love you so, and the privilege of walking this world with you till eternity shows his bright shining face, just like the light of day, once and for all. Darkness will die, oh, until then I will hold your hand. Hold me all through the night, and no, we can't be separated by anything at all. In just a little while he'll restore us, every scar and wound finally healed, and like dust that covers an old frame, swept away for a picture's reveal. In just a little while, just a little while, just a little while. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jillian, for that beautiful, inspiring song. Well, at this time, we have the anchor moment. And the anchor moment is a time when we get to hear from a guest a little bit about themselves, a little bit about their faith journey, and about an anchor moment. And an anchor moment is a time in your life where your faith has really been grounded. You've seen Jesus to be real. He's been your anchor. So tonight, we are so privileged to get to introduce to you Mary Beth Chapman. Mary Beth is a speaker and New York Times best-selling author. She's married to Stephen Curtis Chapman, who is one of the top contemporary Christian artists, one of our family favorites. And she is the co-founder for Show Hope, which is an adoption and orphan care organization. And she and Stephen have 6 children, 3 daughters who are adopted from China, and they have 6 grandchildren they love to dote on, and they live in Franklin, Tennessee. So let's hear now from Mary Beth Chapman.
Hey everybody, my name is Mary Beth Chapman. I am known as the wife to Stephen Curtis Chapman. Some of you may or may not know him. But that is who I am married to. I'm also the co-founder of a beautiful organization called Show Hope. You can find more information at showhope.org. But a little bit about me: I grew up in Springfield, Ohio. I had a beautiful life in a small community, and I came to faith at the age of 5. Wanting to talk to you all a little bit about a couple anchor moments in my life personally as my faith journey grew along my life. The most profound anchor moment in my life was when I stood in the hallway of a Chinese hotel waiting for my first of 3 adopted daughters to be handed to me. I was pretty fearful of the adoption journey, but I had so much faith that we were doing the right next thing. And so as I stood there with Shohana Hope being handed to me, and I instantly was enraptured and in love with this little bundle that they laid in my arms, I think for the first time as a 30-something-year-old woman realized my true identity and my true adoption in Christ Jesus. And I had been a Christian my whole entire life, but I don't think I realized the true identity that I held in the eyes of my Creator until I held Shoei in my arms, because in that moment she was fully ours. There's nothing that she could ever have done to make us love her anymore or any less. She was fully in our family. Her inheritance was our inheritance, and just like Jesus sees us as the inherited princesses and princes of his kingdom. And so I wasn't expecting it, and it radically shifted me on a course that really did put us on a journey to help find this beautiful organization with a staff that is so amazing that helps children find forever homes. So that is one of my really, 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 really grounded anchor moments. Another anchor moment in my life, one that's a little more difficult, is in May of 2008, when our youngest of 3 daughters went to be with Jesus. She was 5 years old, and it was clearly the worst day of the Chapman family's life. And it has been almost 14 years now since Maria has been with Jesus, but that is an anchor moment. And as hard as it was, we really chose that day to anchor ourselves in the only hope that can carry you through in a moment like that. And the verse that we have held onto, scripture is so important to me as a believer, but the verse that we have held onto is that taste and see that the Lord is good. It goes on to talk about being able to see the Lord and see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. And as hard as that was, and as much as I would like to take that day back, not have it be part of the Chapman story, I have to tell you that God has been good. And in the land of the living, we have seen what the enemy came to destroy. We have seen God breathe life into. And the way that he has healed our family, the way that he has healed my son, the wife that he brought my son, so many families impacted ongoing by the work of Show Hope. That one incident even catapulted the work more. And hear me say, that is not, I would give it all back to have Maria be right here with us. But as a believer and as someone who does anchor my hope in the true living God, I believe that the enemy was defeated and that God has used every tear for good, and that people's lives are being changed. And that's not me, that's all God doing it. But that is another anchor point in my life. So I hope this encourages you. Stand strong, and thank you for letting me share with you. God bless.
Wow, Mary Beth, that was an amazing message. Such a wonderful picture of adoption and being adopted into God's family, and the promise of the goodness of God, that he's working good in all of our circumstances, whatever they are. Thank you again so much. Now at this time in the Anchor at Home, we do like to have our drawing. And tonight we have some very special featured items that complement our guest speakers. So first of all, we have our glassy baby, our traditional. It is the light pink and it's named Goodness. Very good for tonight. And it's etched with our Anchor logo. And we also have a book written by Mary Beth Chapman. It's Choosing to See. It's her life story. It is incredible. And we also will have in the drawing the book by our main speaker, Ellen Vaughn. It's called Becoming Elizabeth Elliot. And I highly recommend these books. I've read them. They are fantastic. So there are 3 ways you can get your name in the drawing. You can go to our QR code in the Watch Party Kit, ask that host of yours, or you can go to our website, theanchorgathering.com, or you can go to the description box on our YouTube channel. So you've got until 9 o'clock tonight, and we will mention the 3 winners first thing tomorrow morning. We hope to see your name in there. Good luck. Now we will be hearing from our main speaker, and I am so grateful I get to introduce to you tonight Ellen Vaughn. And Ellen is an inspirational speaker and New York Times best-selling author. She has written and co-authored over 25 books. She was the former Vice President of Communications for Prison Fellowship. She lives in Virginia and has 3 grown children. Let's hear now from Ellen Vaughn.
Well, hello, Anchor friends. It's so great to be with you this evening. And I feel especially honored to share the evening event with my old friend, Mary Beth Chapman. And as God would have it, I was able to find a wonderful present given to me years ago by Mary Beth. Not everyone is fortunate enough to have a beautiful Mary Beth Chapman pink flamingo, but I have one. So I'll just put that aside and let's continue with what we want to talk about this evening. I want to do a couple things. One, talk about the last book that I wrote, because I think there are things within the story of Elizabeth Elliot that are great talking points for all of us together in community, and that elements of her story I think can be useful to all of us in our various stories that we're living today. And I want to share something personally that just happened to me that also has brought some key truths, I think, about real muscular biblical hope. Very true in my own life. So let's see if that all ties together and if it works. So first of all, by way of introduction, I was one of those nerdy little girls who just read books all the time and wanted to be a writer when she grew up. And in my early teens, maybe, I was tremendously affected by the writing of C.S. Lewis. And I felt like there was such a magical transaction that went on between his writing, the words on the page, and what I, as the reader, was experiencing, the sense of recognition, like, wow, I couldn't have said that myself, but I know that to be true. I can see that, I feel that, I taste it, whatever. And so for me, that became a desire to try to create that wonderful experience that comes through books with others. And so by God's kind providence, I was able to pursue the vocation over these many years, many decades of being a writer. And I have found that for people my age, boomers, it's like, oh yeah, Elizabeth Elliot. But for millennials and younger, the idea is, well, who was Elizabeth Elliot and why should I care? Back in the last century, Elizabeth Elliot was a young 28-year-old missionary in Ecuador, and she and her husband were part of a group of 5 missionary couples. And they had determined, they were working with various indigenous people groups within the Amazon jungle. But they all had this desire to reach an isolated group that was known to kill any outsider who ventured into its territory. And they were a Stone Age tribe. They were in danger of self-extermination because they had no conflict resolution. The only way that they resolved conflict was by killing one another. And so if there was a disagreement, one would spear another to death, and then in retaliation and vengeance, the family members of the first would come and spear the rest of the family members of the other. And so because of this, there was a 70% death by homicide rate within the tribe. They were in danger of killing themselves off and living life in this cycle of darkness, retaliation, fear, terror. And so the missionaries decided we want to reach these people with the notion that there is a different way to live, that forgiveness is real, that Jesus loves us, God created us. There is a life of light that is possible, not this endless cycle of violence and death. And so the net of the story is that the 5 young missionary men, after what seemed like friendly overtures of relationships with the tribal people, went to part of the tribal territory. And in fact, there, after initially friendly contact, they were ambushed and all speared to death. Now, Elizabeth Elliot was, as I said, a 28-year-old young woman who had a 10-month-old daughter. She had married Jim Elliot, the love of her life, and he was gone, suddenly, savagely gone. And so she prayed a very unlikely prayer. She said, God, if there is anything you want me to do about the Waodani, the people group who had killed her husband, she said, if there's anything you want me to do about them, I'm available, kind of open hands, right? I really admire, first of all, just that prayer. God, if there's anything you want me to do about whatever situation, I'm available. So the prayer of availability is a mighty thing. And against all human odds, Elizabeth Elliot, with her young daughter and another woman, went into the tribal territory and ended up living among the people who had killed their loved ones. And because of that living out, that incarnational love of living among the people with forgiveness, not vengeance, many in the tribe, not all, but many embraced following Jesus as a new way of living. And they learned about the one who in fact had been speared, so to speak, for them, and who said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And so this broke, actually, the cycle of violence within the tribe and began a new life for many of them. When I was growing up, Elizabeth Elliot was sort of an evangelical superhero for having lived her life in the jungle, that improbable, strong woman of God, very independent. And then also then coming back to the United States, and she wrote a number of books and spoke on platforms around the world 300 days a year. So she was sort of an evangelical icon. At any rate, I was approached a few years ago to write her authorized biography. As I got into the life of this woman who I had admired but not necessarily liked a whole lot, I found out that she was an authentic, real human being, and I liked her very much. And part of that was because I was given by her daughter Valerie all of Elizabeth Elliot's journals. And I can't tell you, there's something as a biographer of taking on the stewardship, if you will, of writing someone's story, their life story, and seeing in these handwritten pages, day by day by day, a human life. And the wild feeling was, when I would read her journals, I knew what was going to happen. I knew how the story would end. And she did not know. And that was a very poignant sense. And it made me feel for all of us in the stories of our lives, the pages that we're living right now, and we don't know how this chapter is going to end, but we sure wish it would, or whatever is happening, that God is the one who holds our story in his hands. I think of Psalm 139 where the psalmist says, "Oh Lord, you know me so well. All the days ordained for me, were they not written in your book before even a one of them came to be?" That was a profound experience for me, and whenever I write in my journal, I think of it. Just a side note that I want to say, some of the stuff in these journals is not really, we don't want to publish it. So just be very careful before you pass away what you do with your journals. Just saying. Okay, that's a practical point, takeaway for everybody. But at any rate, one of the other ways that I did research, and I'll move it along here, was to go to the depths of the Amazon jungle. And here we have some photos that can let you know, probably many of you have traveled to places deep in the jungle, but you know how it goes. You fly in on the little tiny airplane just buzzing just above the jungle canopy, and then you see the winding tributary of the Amazon River, and then you come down on this little tiny airstrip that is just a sort of a muddy patch in the jungle, and you land and come crashing in. And then we were picked up by the Waodani, the indigenous people who still live in that part of the world, and taken in their long wooden canoes and pulled down the river and then trekked for a few miles. And then we get to our beautiful grass hut, which was our home for the week while we were visiting there. And while we were there, also, the people, they are so hospitable, giving the best of what they have. And so in this case, the hunters would go out each day and go into the jungle and bring back what they had found, and that would be cooked up for dinner. And so one particular day in question, as you'll see in these photos, a beautiful monkey had been procured for our dinner. And if you look closely at the monkey's face, you see that he is not pleased at all about the situation. And he was, just shall we say, charred over the fire and then boiled in a big pot. And I immediately became a vegetarian for the week, I can't tell you. One aside here that I'll tell you is that you may be able to tell by looking at me that I'm rather makeup dependent. And part of that is just because of the way God happened to make my face. If I don't have lipstick on, you can't hear what I'm saying because you don't know, you can't see where my words are coming out from. As God would have it, he provided, because we get into the jungle, and the first thing, we were welcomed by women from the tribe who painted our faces. How wonderful. Now, as you can see, that perhaps the result was not quite as wonderful with the Rocky Raccoon sort of red eye effect. And I should tell you that dye that they used to make the raccoon eyes would not come off. I wore that look for the entire time I was in the jungle. One of the greatest parts of that trip was for me to have the opportunity to meet with a very old man named Minkai. And Minkai had been one of the young men all those decades earlier who in fact had killed Elizabeth Elliot's husband, Jim Elliot, and the other 4 missionary men. And he had become, in fact, a follower of Jesus. The photo there, this is a translation of how he talked about the coming of the missionaries. We acted badly until they brought us God's carvings, the Bible. Then, seeing his carvings and following his good trail, now we live happily and in peace. And for me, sitting with Minkai, who had once been this young, angry man, now a gentle old man about to enter into heaven himself, who loved Christ. I sat with him and he carved me a spear, all right? And just the sharpening of that spear, it was like time travel to me of going back all those decades before, and to think about the transformation and how at some points in all of our stories, it seems like we're at the point of we are at the point of death, of despair, of it will never change. This is how it is. And yet that God is always, in mysterious ways that we cannot comprehend on this side of heaven, he is always working out his will. He is doing things that are impossible, humanly speaking, and they are surprises to us. As I'm interviewing a man across that wooden table by the light of a headlamp, the man who is sitting to my left, who is translating for me, is Phil Saint. And to spend time with Phil, Minkai killed Phil's father, Nate Saint, all those decades ago with Jim Elliot and the others. And to see Phil Saint and Minkai walk along the trail, arm in arm, brothers, together. Again, it's an impossibility apart from the power of God to absolutely transform human hearts. The wonderful thing when you write books is you are hopefully creating a story that other people will love and find life in, find resonance, find recognition, like I said about me with the author C.S. Lewis. But also I found in all the books I've done, God is teaching me things in my own journey. And so that infuses my enthusiasm about the topic as well. It's not just executing a task or creating a widget. It's telling a story that has power and resonance, that the whole is more than the sum of the parts, if you know what I mean. And so when I was among the Waodani, they have a very difficult language, which would be impossible for me to learn. But one word I did learn, and that is waponi. And what that means is, literally, I see it well. And so if you say it like waponi, it means I see it well, I like it. But if you say waponi, it means I love it. I see it well. And so that's the image that I want to kind of transition to as we continue on our merry way with this talk and for your discussions afterwards, is the notion of seeing things well. Because I think it is so incumbent upon us as women in our society today to see things well, to see as Jesus saw. Jesus saw all around him in his day the people who others didn't see. He saw the people who were marginalized, sitting by the side of the road, the outcasts in society, those who were unclean, those who had diseases. He saw women who at the time were less than second-class citizens. But then also, what I have been experiencing in recent years, and most particularly in the last few months, is the notion of seeing things that aren't even there, to see with the eyes of the heart, to see what is physically invisible but more real than that which is visible. One is Paul's prayer from Ephesians 1, and he says to his beloved friends to whom he is writing, I pray that the eyes of your heart may be enlightened, in order that you may know the hope to which God has called you, the riches of his glorious inheritance in his holy people, and his incomparably great power for us who believe. That if the eyes of our heart, which is a beautiful metaphor, the eyes of our heart are open, that we may know hope, the riches of what we have in Christ and his power. Help me to see what is lasting. Right now we are in such a polarized environment in our culture here in North America. And I feel like in most women I speak with, many are in very difficult times in our personal spheres, in our families, among our friend groups, and so many different areas. We need to be able to see further than the things around us, which can be pretty daunting and a big mess. Again, the Apostle Paul writing, and we love this, so therefore we do not lose heart. Outwardly, we are wasting away. Now, I know that you all are young and beautiful, and trust me, your day will come. But when one gets to be of a certain age, this sense of, oh my goodness, I am wasting away. Like, how did this even happen? But I digress. And outwardly, we're wasting away. But inwardly, we are being renewed day by day. That's a mystery. For our light and momentary troubles. Now again, as you all know, the Apostle Paul's writing this from prison. He could be beheaded at any moment. He has undergone great privations and sufferings physically. These were not light and momentary, but to him, by comparison with what was coming, they were. Our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal weight of glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. What is seen around us is temporary. What is unseen is eternal. And to me, that is the core for me in my journey. I hope maybe it resonates with you in your journey. The core of having hope in the midst of difficult times. and permit me to share a little bit of my story here. It was interesting timing for me, I'll say this. I have been working on volume 2 of Elizabeth Elliot's authorized biography. And in the very beginning of June, I had just finished a section writing about Elizabeth's second husband. And not much is really commonly known about that story. But when Elizabeth Elliot was middle-aged, she fell passionately, deeply, incredibly in love with a man named Addison Leach, who was intellectually, spiritually, physically, in every way, her kindred spirit. She loved him, she wrote in her journal, even more than Jim Elliot. He was the love of her life. And she had about 4 years of a very happy marriage to him that just shocked her. She was so joyful and pleased with what God had done, to her great surprise. And then in June, I was writing the anguished part of her story where bit by bit by bit, he was taken away from her due to a deadly, malignant, metastasizing cancer. And it was a hard story to write. As biographer, you kind of take on again the living through an experience that I had not had. And within not even a week of having finished writing that story, I got the news that my husband Lee had a new, incurable, inoperable, malignant, quick-growing, metastasizing brain tumor. And within just a few weeks, Lee died. And it was uncanny to me to have just sort of lived through it and trying to write Elizabeth Elliot's story. And then it was like, God, all right, and now you get to live it in your story. And I have to tell you, I am fresh off this like 3 months ago, right? And so the reality that I want to share with you all, you're in a different season of life, but certainly we are all going through losses, painful losses of every kind. It is common to us all, I know, in any group of women. It's always a surprise to me how much people are going through. For me, the notion that, oh my goodness, what my eyes saw in front of me in Lee's passing, and I was so grateful because our 3 grown children were there. We had tremendous support from our community of friends, and he went quickly, which was a mercy, and his faith in God was solid. And my prayer was that he would just sweetly and gently, like a bird flying home to the nest, go. And in fact, he did. He flew away. And as I watched that with my earthly eyes, all I could see was this gray person who had been my beloved husband, sort of disintegrated, smaller. There was nothing that my earthly eyes could see. But that is where, in those moments of intense sadness and horror in a way, there was such a sense of the reality is what I cannot see. The reality is that he, according, if the Bible is true, he was in the presence of Christ, fully healed, joyful, free, and I will see him again one day, along with all the others who have passed before us. And so as you all are thinking together in the light of this sort of brain dump on my part to you all, and in the light of the story of what I've shared from Elizabeth Elliot, and perhaps anything that the Holy Spirit might use from my own story, I really want to encourage you in a couple of things. One is, it is so great for women to join together in community. There is great power there because women are fun. Women tend to be rather transparent and they connect really well. And I want to encourage that in the safety of your groups as you gather in this wonderful anchor community, to be able to go go deep with one another, because the surest way for us to be able to see with the eyes of eternity, so to speak, which is pretty cosmic, is when we as sisters are encouraging one another, okay? And the facts are that God loves us. He is always with us. He will never leave us or forsake us. That there is life beyond death, and that He is with us and has provided for us through the end. But there is a joy that surpasses our situations. So I love you all. Blessings to each one. And it has been great to be with you this evening.
Thank you, Ellen, for that wonderful message. Now, she has come up with a few questions for us. They're going to be on your screen, and we'd love for you to take time in your watch party for some discussion, or if you're on your own, to reflect on the questions to go a little deeper. We hope you enjoy that time. Now, I want to conclude just saying again, thank you for joining us this evening. We hope and pray that you have a wonderful month. And like I like to say, until next time, stay anchored, and we will see you soon.